If you are just starting out in the gym as a beginner in 2023, you are in the right place. We are going to have an awesome discussion today, focusing on numerous different questions in the fitness industry that will directly affect you as a beginner. We're going to talk about the best cardio that you can do to burn your belly fat as a beginner. We're going to talk about tips to avoid overeating, and even should you eat back the calories from your cardio workouts. We have a lot more questions we're going to cover. On top of that, go ahead and stay all the way until the end. Grab a notepad. We got some great action-packed information in this podcast today. So if you do have any questions from any of the actual questions we're going to address in the video, go ahead and leave them down in the comments down below. And also leave down in the comments, what are you currently working on in your fitness goals? I'm really curious. So let's go ahead and jump right in to the first question. And this first question is something that gets asked often. And it's usually from individuals who are trying to lose a little bit of weight. And that first question goes along the lines of, what cardio machine is the best to burn fat? What cardio machine can really burn the most fat, right? So before I get into this, I just wanted to kind of look a little bit on cardio itself and fat loss. So, a lot of people think that you need to do cardio to burn fat. This isn't true, and cardio can burn fat, but cardio doesn't always burn fat. So there's kind of a distinction I want to make here. When you do cardio in itself, cardio uses calories as energy, otherwise you wouldn't be able to do the cardio, right? Cardio uses calories from different sources of energy. One of the sources of energy that cardio uses calories from is from fat. This can be the stored fat that's actually in your belly or basically any other part of your body. And it can also use some fat from your dietary fat. But the thing about this is, your dietary fat that you eat through, let's say you eat a burger or something and there's a little bit of fat in it, that usually gets stored as adipose tissue or regular fat pretty quickly, pretty easily, right? It's easily converted to body fat. So that's one source of calories. In addition to this, you can also get calories, or cardio can burn calories from the carbohydrates that you are intaking as well. So if you eat, say, a banana, a lot of that's going to get stored in your liver as glycogen or stored carbs. Some of it's going to get stored in your muscle as glycogen or stored carbs. Or sometimes it'll just sit in the bloodstream and then get used right as energy from there. So that's kind of where cardio in itself gets the energy from. So if you are not in a calorie deficit though, even if you are doing cardio, quote unquote, you're not going to lose any fat. So cardio plus being in a calorie deficit equals fat loss. Cardio minus or not in a calorie deficit equals fat gain or maintenance. So if you're somebody who burns 2,500 calories a day and you are doing some cardio and you're still overeating maybe 2,700 calories or even 3,000 calories per day, guess what? You're not going to actually burn any fat at all. So that's kind of something I just wanted to set up this idea when we're looking at the different cardio machines, that the cardio machines are a good way to burn calories, but if you're not equating the overall calorie loss from it, it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme. So when I was doing some research for this, it was kind of tough finding exact cardio machine amounts for each specific calorie burn. But one of the sources I found was from a 170-pound woman for doing 1 hour of cardio. And they gave me four. The first four are listed here in the list that you can check out. So 1 hour of treadmill, roughly speaking, was about 757 calories. Again, this is going to be kind of a moderate intensity, not too hard, not too light, kind of a moderate zone 2 to 3 cardio. Stationary bike around 540 calories. Stairmaster, that's basically where you're going up a set of stairs that just never ends. Sounds fun, right? It's a great exercise, great workout. About 695 calories there. You just say 700 to make it easy. And then on top of this, the elliptical 2. That's about 386 calories overall. So as you can see there, the treadmill is going to burn a lot. Stationary bike a little bit less. Stairmaster about the same as a treadmill, maybe a little bit less. Then the elliptical, not so much. And then I also wanted to throw in here, rowing machine is a really, really good piece of equipment to burn calories. I didn't have exact numbers for this one. I would assume it's very similar to the Stairmaster. An Airdyne bike, that's a bike that sometimes people call it a Schwinn bike. It uses your arms and legs. That one's very similar to the rower because the rower also uses your arms and legs. Those two machines are excellent because you're not only using your legs, which burn a lot of calories, you're also using your arms too, which burn calories as well. So when we're thinking about trying to burn the most amount of calories to hopefully lead to fat loss, the things where you're using both your arms, at least for a machine, that's going to be great. But you probably noticed, treadmill, that's burning a lot of calories. That's burning almost the most calories. Stairmaster, very similar to treadmill. That's burning a lot of calories too. So what's the deal there? That's only using your legs. The thing about this is you are standing the entire time when you are doing this form of cardio. So if you think about it, just standing in general is going to burn more calories than sitting in general. So you have to take the calories from standing plus the calories from the activity. That's where you get a little bit of extra calorie burn. And if you are learning something new so far, please give this video a like. It greatly helps the channel out and spreads this message of health and fitness to individuals of all abilities. Another piece of equipment often used is a recumbent bicycle. That one's probably going to burn less calories than even the stationary bike, because if you think about it, stationary bike, you got to use your core and posture to actually sit up nice and tall. The thing about it is, though, the recumbent bike, you're literally just sitting back in place. You're not really doing much, right? You're still moving your legs, but it's almost like you're sitting back, taking a little nap, and just pedaling around. So nothing too crazy on there. I also wanted to throw in swimming here as another example. Swimming isn't a cardio machine per se. It is a form of cardio though. And swimming is an excellent form of cardio that burns a lot of calories. And the thing about swimming too is that not a lot of people are good at it. And if you're not good at a specific cardio endeavor, you're actually going to burn a lot more calories compared to somebody who's really efficient at it. So if you take a marathon runner, for example, a marathon runner can ultimately do a marathon with, I'm not going to say no problem because they're obviously pushing pretty hard, but they can do it pretty easily, pretty much no problem. You take somebody who is new to running, has never run before, and try to get them to do a marathon, they're going to burn so many more calories just because they're inefficient and can't do the movement quite as well. So that's going to basically make you burn more calories. If you are new to a movement, that's great. That might be a good time to introduce a new form of cardio into your workout routine. Just something to consider. Also, another thing to consider, arms and legs at the same time. That's going to generally burn more calories. Also, cardio pieces of equipment where you're standing up is going to burn more calories. You might be thinking the elliptical, this is the exception. The elliptical, I'm using my arms and legs and I'm standing up. Why am I not burning as many calories? Well, the deal with the elliptical is it's a very fluid motion, and basically it's taking a lot of the eccentric load out of it, and it's even taking some of the concentric load out of it. So really you're kind of just going with the flow of the motion, flow of the ocean with the movement. If you've never done an elliptical, it's very smooth and it's a great way to move, and it's very low impact, but it doesn't burn a lot of calories because it's so low impact. So that's kind of one of the things. There's a lot of great options out there. Basically, just find a form of cardio that you enjoy and it will help you to get to your overall fat loss goals. Speaking of fat loss, another common question that we can look at is eating back calories from your workout. So maybe you just did a good running workout and you're thinking, okay, can I eat the calories back? I burned about 200 calories. It said that on my watch. Should I eat those back? Can I have a cookie? Does that cancel out? Well, I just wanted to first discuss how many calories you burn from working out in general before we look at this idea. And basically, I found a couple little metrics online. So if you do like a light bike or a light stationary bike for about 30 minutes, that's going to burn roughly about 200 to 400 calories. Weight training for about an hour. This is the surprising thing. A lot of people don't realize that weight training, you really don't burn a lot of calories overall. So only about 200 to 300 calories per 1 hour of weight training. So you almost burn double that from half the amount of cardiovascular work. That doesn't mean you shouldn't not do weight training. Weight training is great because it builds muscle, which can actually burn calories at rest when you do nothing. So that's kind of a starting point. We're burning, roughly, let's say 500 calories maybe from our workout in total on average. So then we can look at how many calories are in food. So a cookie, again, these are just things ballparked from my general knowledge of these. A cookie, roughly 120 to 150 calories. A slice of pizza, around 200 to 400 calories. So if you see right there, man, just eating one of each of those, that's almost eating back all the calories that we just burned in that training session to begin with. So if you are thinking about eating your calories back from your workout, I want you to first realize that you will have to do a lot of working out just in general to actually get yourself to burn calories, to actually get to that weight loss. So I don't really think this is the best idea and the best approach for a lot of people, because it basically gets you in this never-ending cycle of, I'm going to do more. I'm going to go for a quick bike so I can eat some food. I'm going to go do a quick workout so I can eat some food. And it can get psychologically very, very damaging over time. So usually what a better idea that I usually recommend for people is leaning on a calorie calculator to get your basic ballpark metric. I like using the NIH body weight planner, body weight calculator online. That's a great tool. And basically these calculators simply being average the overall amount of calories that you burn based off of your activity level, based off of your sex, or if you're male or female, based off of your overall weight, your height, and it focuses on what you do consistently. This is the big point I want to make people realize, is that you will consistently burn roughly the same amount of calories per day if, assuming you are doing roughly the same amount of activity per day. That's the big thing. So this is what you should be focusing on, generally speaking. So if we have a 2,500 calorie a day example, maybe a 45-year-old male who's doing weights 3 times a week, he's running twice a week, and he's walking daily. You might be thinking, okay, for him, he's just burning 2,500 calories, and that's what the calorie calculator gave us. So if he does an extra workout, if he does more activity on that day over his normal 2,500 calorie burn, should he eat more? Well, if you're trying to lose weight, I would probably maybe eat back just a little bit, not a whole lot. But in all reality, you're trying to use this consistent calorie metric, and since your calorie calculator actually already puts in the activity level from your normal day-to-day activities, there's not a whole lot of reason to eat back those calories, because they were kind of already equated in that overall calorie goal to begin with, if that makes sense. So if you're trying to lose weight, maybe you could eat it back a little bit, just because it's kind of harder to recover when you're trying to lose weight. Your recovery protocol isn't working as good. Your body just simply isn't able to repair all the tissue as well. You're not able to sleep quite as well. So maybe a little bit. If you're maintaining or even on a weight gain phase, I would just go back to normal. I would just eat your same amount of calories if you are on that one day doing more activity than normal. But remember, we're talking about, for the most part, the consistent amount of calories you're burning. And when you're using a calorie calculator, you literally put in, I am lightly active or I am moderately active. This is what you are consistently active. So it doesn't make sense to eat back those calories because for the most part, you're just sticking with what that calorie is. With that said, you might notice that a couple weeks go by, a couple days go by, and you're dropping weight very, very rapidly. In that exact case, you're probably wanting to, and what I would recommend is to switch your calories up a little bit. So maybe bump them up a little bit. Or if you're gaining a bunch of weight, bump them down a little bit. Calorie counting in general is a very general idea. In all of the food we actually eat, those food labels on the back of the different processed foods we get, there's about a 30% error bar on each side. So if you're eating something that says it's 100 calories, it could be 70 calories. It could also be 130 calories. So that's a pretty insane thing to realize and that not a lot of people do. If you're learning something new, please consider giving this video a like so far. Greatly appreciate it. And the next portion of this that I wanted to talk about is an idea of having poor posture. So this is another common beginner fitness question I get. I have poor posture, or I know someone with poor posture. Often it's this term coined as hunchback. So what are some simple fixes that we can do to fix hunchback? Whether this is exercises or just anything in general. I'm kind of at a loss here. I'm trying to improve the overall posture in my body. What can we do? So before we begin, I wanted to just talk about what hunchback is. Hunchback isn't a actual scientific term. It's not a medical term. You don't go into the diagnostic book of all these different things. It says hunchback, or an anatomy book, it says hunchback. Hunchback simply being is slang term for having a rounded forward posture. It's basically where your head is sticking forward. You might have kind of, if you think of literally the Hunchback of Notre Dame, it's where your head's pointed forward very far. You might even have a little bit of shrug in your shoulder. It's basically a very ugly looking posture that can lead to a lot of pain in individuals. And not only can it lead to a lot of pain, it just doesn't really look very good either. Not a lot of people like how it looks. So how in the world does hunchback happen? Obviously, when you're a baby and you come out of your mother's womb, you don't look like this right away. So what's really causing this? And there's actually a few different reasons that could be causing hunchback in individuals. One of the ones is actually an age-related change in your body. Now, this is something that a lot of people don't want to hear because they think, oh man, then there's nothing I could do about hunchback. Yes, there is still plenty you can do about hunchback, but I do just want to note for a starter that for some individuals, especially older individuals, there are some age-related changes in your spine that simply happen just because of age. It just happens. Your body gets a little bit weaker, your bones get a little bit weaker, everything just kind of deteriorates very slowly. Again, this isn't to say that you can't not do anything about it. We are going to discuss some things in a second that you can do to help fix your hunchback, but there is some part of it that is genetic. That's one thing. And also too, with age, it is just something that usually does happen. You'll probably notice a lot of older adults, if you go to a nursing home or go visit your grandma and she maybe lives in a senior living community, there's a lot of people that just have a hunchback, and that wasn't really anything they did. It might have somewhat be from some lifestyle stuff, but a lot of times too, it just kind of happens a little bit. Another thing, and this is more leaning towards the things that we can actually focus on and kind of really just put a lot of attention on to fix hunchback, is our posture, having weak and tight muscles. So your posture in itself is essentially just being aware of, I need to have my chest out, shoulders back. I just actually fix my posture in my chair in this exact routine. This is going to kind of deviate from others because some people have really good posture and they don't even try. They literally don't even think about it. I've had to work on my posture a lot over the years. One of the things that I actually attribute getting somewhat better posture from, in addition to exercise, is actually meditating. I meditate on this little stool every morning and there's no back on it. So because of that, I have to keep a really straight back the entire time, which when I do this, of course, I'm strengthening all the core muscles in my body. Speaking of weak muscles, usually when it comes to bad posture, we have weak muscles in our back. So the muscles that actually pull our back and scapula into place. A lot of times we have tight shoulders. We have maybe even a tight areas in our neck. There's lots of different areas that can be tight and weak. So some of the areas we need to stretch, usually around our pecs or our chest, and then we also need to stretch some muscles around our neck, in addition to strengthening a lot of those areas in our back, which we'll discuss those in a second. Another thing that could have actually happened, and this I don't have a lot of formal experience with, thankfully, but trauma. So I want you to think, if somebody got into a car accident, this might have led to something where they may be permanently kind of in a position where they can't really extend their neck very well, or maybe their scapula got broken, so they don't have as much scapular control, so they're just always in this kind of bad rounded forward position. That could be another thing layered on to all of these other ones that could lead you to kind of have that bad hunchback posture. So what are some simple ways we can fix hunchback? What are some stuff that you can do? So the first little bout of things is some posture exercises. And these are all things that I would recommend looking on YouTube. I'm just going to give you a few kind of bullet point ideas. But chin tucks are a really good physical therapy exercise that help with this kind of feeling of hunchback. In addition to this, trap Y raises, those will actually work your lower trapezius muscle, which are very underworked and very neglected when it comes to having good posture, so that will help as well. Band pull-aparts will work the postural muscles in your back. Super great exercise. Dumbbell pullovers, doing some planks. Planks will kind of strengthen your core. And as we just discussed earlier, having a strong core is incredibly crucial in maintaining your overall posture in your torso area. So the stronger the core you have, the more easily it is for you to just sit up nice and tall. As I just discussed earlier, when I do meditating now, a lot of that time I'm just spent sitting straight up in good posture position. So it's really much more difficult for me to actually have bad posture because I'm practicing it every single day. And that's a main thing too. You got to be focused on it and you got to be doing it every single day. That's going to make a huge big difference. You could do some lower back extensions too. Super simple exercise. Foam rolling the upper back actually feels good too. It can kind of loosen up some of those muscles that get really tight from the day, but also kind of focus on putting you in that good posture position as well. If you are finding value from this and learning something new, please give the video a like so far. Smash that like button. Greatly appreciate it. Another subset of exercises that are actually going to help fix hunchback are going to be pulling exercises. Now, I know that's kind of a vague and general term. Logan, what do you mean by pulling exercises? That could mean anything. Yes, it totally does, but I want you to kind of think about this. Anytime you are taking an object either in front of you or above you or just to the side of you, and you are pulling it closer to you, that is going to directly work the muscles in your back. And anytime you're working the muscles in your back, those are going to help put you in good posture position. I should say too, anytime you are pulling something closer to you with your arms, that's another key note. So you need to be pulling something closer to you with your arms, whether this is a lat pull down, doing a bent over row where you have an object in front of you and you are just pulling it closer to your chest. Those are all going to be different ways that it actually allows you, excuse me, I got the hiccups this morning. It's going to allow you to work those muscles in the back. So don't overthink it. If you're going to the gym and you're like, is this going to help my posture? Think, am I pulling with my arms that object, that weight, that bar closer to me? If you are pulling anything closer to you, it will help to improve your posture muscles. If you are pushing something away from you, it would sort of help with posture, but those are usually the muscles that are kind of overactive or very, very tight. So bench press, for example, pushing something away from you, that's going to tighten your chest muscles, which can kind of lead to a lot of this bad posture for people. These are just general rules though, and if you're first starting out, this is a good starting place for those exercises. Go ahead and look at some of those online, and I think it could give you some really, really good ideas to start. Another thing that might not often be prevalent for everyone, but I think is very, very crucial for some individuals who are a parent with a newborn, or maybe you're just watching a kid, for example, over the weekend. Maybe you're even babysitting and you just don't have that much time to actually get a good workout in. So what are some simple things that you can do with a newborn, with a baby, with a child? I would say a newborn would probably be easier, because if you got a child, man, the best workout is just running around with them and playing. You know, I can't tell you how tired I get after just playing with a newborn. Wish you had that kind of energy all the time forever. Okay, so some simple workouts that you can do with a newborn. The first thing that I think of, especially if the weather is nice outside, or if you have a gym that allows you to use a stroller, or a mall where you can go walk around, is simply a stroller, walk, or run. This is something that is super simple, super easy, and there is actually some pretty cool strollers out there nowadays that are almost like reinforced, that can actually kind of make it like an off-road. They have really good bearings, they have really good tires, really thick tires, and the build on them is super good, so you can actually run in them. They're literally designed for new parents with a newborn or a child to run in. You could just simply go out for a walk too with these. Obviously, just make sure there's enough covering over that newborn. So make sure there's not a huge amount of direct sunlight in their face. But this is good for you because you're getting some fresh air, you're getting some exercise, you're getting some sunlight, which helps with circadian rhythm and falling asleep. Your child is also getting the exact same thing. Maybe they're not getting specifically cardiovascular exercise, but they're getting some fresh air. That makes them feel good. They're getting a little bit of sunlight. That helps their circadian rhythm and sleep better, which of course helps you sleep better as well. So those are just a few simple ideas to start. Of course, if you're going outside to do it, you can do it in the mall too. That's great. Stroller, walk, and run. Don't underestimate. Just a 15 to 20 minute stroller, walk, or run in the morning, whatever. Another great way to stay near your child and simply be able to watch them is doing a circuit workout in your home. This is going to be something where, I'm going to give a basic recommendation template right here, where you're going to pick like a couple leg exercises, couple arm exercises, and maybe a core exercise. And then you're just going to cycle through these doing 1 minute of each. So a good example of this could be doing bodyweight squats. So bodyweight squats, it's going to work your quads. Maybe you're going to do some assisted push-ups after that. So a pushing exercise where you're pushing away from your body, doing some backpack deadlifts. I love using the backpack if I'm at home and just working with somebody, for example, and trying to get them to work out, but they don't have money to actually spend on workout equipment. So basically what you do is you load up a backpack with a bunch of books or a bunch of anything, if you will, and you're just going to do some deadlifts. So you're going to lean over, touch that backpack on the ground, and then you're going to stand up tall, backpack rows, same thing. These are all exercises that you can look up online. I probably have a couple on my channel. I haven't made them in a while. This would be a good video idea. And then you could finish with a plank just to work your core. You're going to do 1 minute of these, and throughout that entire time, your child can literally be right next to you. You can be staring at them while you're doing these exercises, right? You can have them down for a nap, And the good thing about a lot of these movements too, they're not really super loud, and especially if you're on like a foam mat or if you're on any type of mat that kind of kills the sound a little bit too, that's going to be great, because guess what? You're not going to wake your baby up. They're going to get a nice little nap. That'd be another good note too, trying to plan some of your workouts around their nap time, but still having them right next to you if you did. Just want to make sure that everything is going to be okay. There's also lots of good pieces of cardio equipment that you can literally just sit on, and then once again, just like that circuit workout, look at your child. So the treadmill is great, stationary bike is great, the elliptical is great, even Stairmaster. Those are all things where you can put your child right next to you in one of those newborn seats, right? And just let them play, let them hang. And then at any point, if you do need to, you can just hop off there. No problem. You can hop back on. A couple really good ideas. And the other really cool thing about these too is a lot of them, not all of them, but the circuit workouts especially are stuff that you can do at home. So if you're stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad, or you're just taking the day off to be with your kid, you can do that at home. Not a lot of people, but people who are into fitness have maybe a treadmill at their home. That's great. Maybe even a stationary bike. That's great. Probably not an elliptical or Stairmaster. Those are pretty big and pretty specific. Another great option, and something that my mom used a lot when I was younger, is she went to a gym that had a daycare. And some gyms not only have a daycare, they actually have a literal playpen that your child can play in when they are actually at the gym. When you are at the gym, I should say. I go to a local YMCA, and actually I've been to a couple gyms in my area that literally have a giant play area. It's like one of those McDonald's play places, if you will. Obviously minus the McDonald's, whether that's good or bad. But it's a giant playpen, and they can literally play with their friends while you're getting your workout in. In addition to this, a lot of them too, even if you do have a newborn, they have an area where they can just have the newborn sit, and you can have somebody supervise and play with this too. So there's a little bit more supervision opportunities, but there's also opportunities for kind of less supervision as well. Again, this would probably be a good thing to look for a gym, because if you think about daycare in general, daycare is very expensive. So if you can get a gym with daycare included as part of your membership, you're going to be saving a lot of money for yourself. The last part that I wanted to kind of reiterate with this is to not underestimate the idea of a small workout. So maybe you just started, you just did 5 minutes of a walk on your treadmill, and your newborn started crying, or your newborn's having issues. Well, if that happens, don't feel bad about splitting the workout up. Don't feel bad about taking a little bit of extra rest. Maybe you can't do a full workout right then, so you're gonna, go with your child, calm them down, put them back down for a nap, give them some food, and then after that, you hop right back in. Because for a lot of people, when you're first starting out, your workouts probably will look like that, especially if you have a newborn that's going to be literally by your side all the time. So don't underestimate those small workouts. They really build and compound over time, and ultimately will bring you to your fitness goals. Remember, it's not always going to be like this, but it might be like it right now, and that's okay. You're going to get to a point where you're going to be able to do a longer workout without having to worry about your child. So that was a really good one. Another thing that we can talk about, and this is really prevalent for anyone who's a beginner, is taking small steps. So when you're first starting out, it can be so overwhelming. You might not know what to do. You see this workout routine online, you see that workout routine, you see this diet. Should I do the diet my friend's doing? Should I try out this thing I saw online? What do I do? There's so many things out there. So when you're first starting out on your fitness journey as a beginner, you need to be clear on why you are starting. Are you starting maybe because you're a little insecure with how your body looks? Are you starting because you want to feel a little bit better in your daily life? Are you starting because you want to prove to yourself that you can stick with something? You want to prove to yourself that you can be determined and actually stick with something long term that will allow you to achieve the best fitness goals for yourself. The reason why this is so crucial and so important is because this why and understanding these specific things will give you the motivation that you need when you feel like quitting. There's going to be days, there will be a lot of days where you don't feel like going to the gym, eating healthy, but grounding yourself really close to that reason why you started, why you're getting into fitness to begin with as a beginner, can give you that motivation on days when it's not so easy. And you got to have a clear goal. And when I say clear goal, you might be overwhelmed and thinking, I have no idea. I just want to be fit. I just want to be fit. Think about what being fit is, right? Is being fit for you losing one pant size? Is being fit for you running your first 5K without stopping? Is being fit just being able to play with your kids without stopping? It doesn't need to be something that's super kind of out there and like a crazy goal. It just needs to be something that you can lean towards, that you can navigate towards, and that you can use as kind of a stepping stone towards. Because if you don't have a goal, if you don't have any frame of reference in why you're doing it, guess what? You're also going to be led astray. You're going to be seeing other people doing this crazy workout. You're going to be seeing other people doing this crazy fad diet. And then you're going to think, oh, I should try that. I should try that. But if you simply remind yourself, I'm just doing this because I want to be fit to play with my kids. And the way I do that is by following a good diet, eating well for the most part, 2 to 3 workouts a week, I'll be good to go. I don't need to follow crazy stuff. I don't need to get put off track by all these other external things, right? I'm focused directly on my goal as a beginner. I am focused on getting those things. And then the way I like to look at this is once you have a goal, once you have a specific fitness goal, you look at small things that you can do to achieve that goal. And I would literally just pick one fitness goal to start. So let's say you're running your first 5K without stopping. That's your goal. And how you would then look at this is what are some small things that you can do to get to that goal of doing the 5K without stopping? Well, of course, you're going to need to be doing some workouts, right? You're going to need to be running maybe at least 2 to 3 times a week. When you're first starting out, maybe you're just doing walking 2 to 3 times a week. That's a small step. You're going to need to be eating well. You're going to need to be focusing on good nutrition. So maybe trying to eat 2 more servings of vegetables every single day, because that's going to help you recover. That's going to help you feel better. You need to be hydrated. So maybe you're going to focus a little more on drinking 1 glass of water with every meal. That's going to help you on your overall weight loss goals. Not weight loss goals, the 5K goals. But what are some small things that you can do to reach your goals? And realistically, you're just picking 1 to 3 of these things. You're trying to follow them closely and always reminding yourself that you might fail. That's okay. You just simply need to be ready to pivot when that time comes. So maybe you realize that when you started your original fitness goal, it was way too much for you to fully cut out soda. So instead of cutting out soda completely, maybe you're just drinking 3 sodas a week instead of a soda every single day. So that can be a way you can pivot, so then ultimately you're not failing as much, because when you fail, this can lead to a lot of different things. It makes you basically not focus on your goals as much. It can lead to some anxiety. It demotivates you, and it's extremely distracting as well. So all of those things kind of tied up in a bow and put together usually lead a lot of people to not achieving the best fitness results for themselves. And these things aren't crazy. I'm not reinventing the wheel here, but you're trying to break down where you want to be and where you are trying to go, and then looking at what are very small things that I can do consistently over time that are going to lead me to that. Super simple, but if you think about it, from the example, once again, before we go on to this next portion, also too, give this video a like if you're getting any new ideas and some motivation to hit your fitness goals this year. If you think about the idea of running a 5K without stopping, and your initial goal is to just run 1 mile every single week. 1 mile every single week. That's all you do. Over 52 weeks, you ran 52 miles that entire year. That is insane. That is awesome. And you might be thinking, when you first start out on that goal, what's running 1 mile a week really going to do for me? I'm doing nothing else the rest of the week. 52 miles at the end of the week. That's compounding. That builds. You're going to feel better. You're going to want to do more. All of these things will build on each other over time, which is what will get you to that dream body, that dream fitness level that you want, that you desire for yourself, and it will ultimately give you never-ending motivation to keep fitness. So another aspect of fitness that happens with a lot of individuals is they get very, very hungry and overeat on a lot of different things. So let's look at some ways to avoid overeating and gaining weight. I first want to look at some of the worst foods for dieting. These foods are specifically high calorie and low in volume. So what that means is that they have a high amount of energy in them, and they don't have a low amount, or they do rather have a low amount of actual food volume, so they don't really fill you up. Foods like this are usually very low in fiber, very highly processed. They have a lot of preservatives. They're usually high in fat and carbs together. Super easy to overeat. Peanut butter is one example. Peanut butter is actually fairly healthy, but the thing about this is it's very high in calories. One serving of peanut butter is 2 tablespoons, 200 calories in that thing. That's literally like that much peanut butter, tiny bit, a little bit of a spread, 200 calories. I could eat that whole jar of peanut butter, no freaking problem, no problem. Dressings, super high in fat, very low in calorie, very low in overall food density. Sauces in general, usually high in sugar and fat. Candy in general, very low in fiber, very high in sugar and fat. Highly processed. Pastries, prepackaged snacks, high-fat meals, even frozen dinners. All those things, usually very low in fiber. They're highly palatable, very easy to overeat on. And basically, they don't give you that many calories for how full they make you feel. A lot of those foods, you need to eat a large portion of them before you actually feel full. And this is a huge issue. Let's think about soda too. In a can of regular soda, there's 140 calories roughly for just one can of soda. So if you're somebody who's drinking that, do you feel full after a can of soda? A lot of people, no. And you just consumed 140 calories. This is the same thing for juices as well. Juices don't have any fiber in them either. So those are things that you can really, really quickly overeat on and overconsume on. They don't really fill you up, don't make you feel satiated or full, and can lead to some huge dieting issues long term and lead you to gaining weight and overeating. Instead, some of the best foods for dieting are the complete opposite. So very low calorie foods that are also high in volume. Diet soda, I'm going to look at the flip side of this. Diet soda is one that has 0 calories in it, but there is a little bit of carbonation in it. So if you think about it, it does kind of fill your stomach up a little bit. And for a lot of people, it's a great tool to kind of curb some of those cravings and not overeat as much. Of course, you can also just drink some water at every single meal. That would help too. Sugar-free pudding and Jell-O, very, very high in water content in those, very low in sugar, virtually no sugar at all, just some artificial sweeteners. High water fruit, so stuff like watermelon, stuff like cantaloupe, trying to think of some other ones here, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries. Basically, if you type online high water fruit, I gave you a couple ideas there. You can, apples, another good one, very high in overall water content. Basically, those types of fruits are already full of water, as in when you eat them, they're very hydrating, so they're going to keep you not dehydrated, and dehydration can actually lead to kind of fake hunger. So they're going to keep you hydrated, but that water is filling up your stomach as well. Plus it's got fiber. So a lot of different things with that. Veggies, kind of the same thing. They got some good fiber in them. They also have a little bit of water in them. They will fill your stomach up more, make you feel more satiated, make you more full. So you're not going to be tempted to eat all of those high calorie things. On top of that, getting some lean meats in. Protein is very satiating, but I do want to warn you, you want to try to get leaner meats that don't have a high amount of fat in them. Because those higher fat ones, of course, they're going to still have protein in them, so you're going to feel full, but it's going to lead you to overeating on a lot of extra calories. So those extra calories are where we often get into trouble with those specific things. High fiber grains, these are just going to be something that have fiber in them, so maybe whole wheat bread, some whole wheat pasta. Oats are an amazing whole grain. Popcorn's another one. If there's no butter on it, that also too is a very good low calorie, high volume food that you can eat on a diet. And then some low fat dairy. I love Greek yogurt specifically. And actually like 0 calorie ones. There's those Dane and Lighten Fits. Those are a really, really good one that you can try out for yourself. Super good source of protein, which is satiating. And it's also just a lot of food. I don't know if you've ever eaten Greek yogurt, but you know, after I eat one of those, I feel pretty satiated, pretty full. Some more quick tips too, and if you're finding value from this and learning something new, please give the video a like. Some more quick tips that we can look at is to literally only eat when you're hungry. And this is kind of like a duh, like, of course, Logan, I'm gonna only eat when I'm hungry. Well, a lot of people eat when they're bored. A lot of people eat just because certain time of the day. And you know, if you truly kind of look at your hunger signals and see, if I am really hungry right now, and after you do that, then you're like, okay, yeah, I am really hungry right now, and I actually am gonna eat. That's okay, that's perfect. That's kind of the idea with mindful eating. Limit your junk in your home. There's such a powerful thing that can happen if you simply limit the overall amount of food in your home. And this is simply because if you don't see it, you're not going to think about it. You're not going to be triggered to eat it. So some really good advice there when you're setting up your home environment. Literally don't bring anything in. Leverage caffeine when needed, and also using workouts to blunt hunger. So these are two really cool pieces of dieting advice. So caffeine blunts your hunger. I'm not saying pound a bunch of caffeine, but caffeine in general can help your hunger not feel as hungry. And then also when you work out, for a lot of people, usually 30 minutes to an hour after their workout, especially if you do some intense exercise, there is certain hormones that are released that basically you're not going to get as hungry. It will happen about an hour or so after that. You might be ravenously hungry, but for the most part, shortly after your workout, you're not going to be hungry. So you could really time this and use this to your advantage, where you have a little bit of caffeine, a little bit of workout, and boom, you're going to crave some of your, stop some of your cravings. You're not going to be as hungry. You're going to be good to go. And then also using water before every bite. This could be literally as simple as drinking a glass of water before every meal, or literally drinking a little bit of water before every bite. That's going to fill your stomach up, make you feel more full. It's also going to help with keeping your body overall hydrated. And as we just discussed, sometimes when you are dehydrated, that can actually lead to quote unquote fake hunger. And fake hunger, you know, it's obviously real hunger. You feel hungry, but it's interesting because sometimes being dehydrated can actually make you feel that way. So another question that a lot of people will talk to me about and ask me is, how do I get abs fast? You know, I want to lose my belly fat and see abs the quickest I can be. And there's some good news and there's some bad news. The good news is that everyone has abs. Everyone has abs. The bad news is that most of our abdominals, by most individuals who aren't genetically blessed or gifted, are actually covered by fat. So it's not the question of actually getting abs. It's the question of revealing the abs that we have. How do we reveal the abs? How do we get rid of that belly fat to actually see the abs below it? So which exercises can help with this? Well, there's kind of a problem with this in that you can't actually spot reduce belly fat. So if you're thinking about your abdominal muscles in general, or the fat that's covering around your abdominal muscles, you can't do crunches or planks or any different core exercise that's directly going to target those muscles and burn the fat in that area. It just doesn't happen. What we need to do instead is just to be in a overall calorie deficit in general. So we need to lose fat overall. And when we lose fat overall, this will usually come at some point way down the road from your belly. So unfortunately, genetics dictate exactly where this comes from. So for some individuals, they are able to basically keep all the fat around their stomach pretty lean. And there's some individuals who will literally store every ounce of fat around their stomach. You probably noticed to some people who got the good junk in the trunk, right? And they always look lean in their stomach. This is just genetics deciding where they actually are storing their overall body fat. You can't change that from individual to individual. It's literally the luck of the draw, if you will. Some people will get it stored in those kind of blessed areas. But at the same time, this is something to realize and to give you more power to try to just lose some more overall fat. Abs in general are usually seen last when we are dieting and trying to lose weight. And the thing about them is we still can make them become bigger and more defined, but if you never actually lose that fat that's covering the muscles, it's covering your abs, you're not really going to lose or see any of that weight. So you need to focus on being in a calorie deficit, eating less calories per day than you burn. You can look up calorie calculators online to find out that information. Sticking with that for a long portion of time, making sure you're resistance training, making sure you're doing a little bit of cardio. Both of those things are going to burn calories, which can help you to burn fat. If you're in that calorie deficit, weight training is really great because it can allow you to burn calories at rest, so you don't even have to do anything. But that's the good, the bad, and the ugly about getting defined abs and belly fat. You can't burn belly fat directly, but you can burn fat all around, which over time will lead to belly fat getting vaporized from your body. So give it a shot. It's not completely worthwhile. Speaking of cardio, will cardio ruin muscle growth? I see a lot of these people, these runners who are all skin and bones, and they don't look like they have any muscle. So if I'm doing some cardio like them, if I'm doing a 30-minute bike ride a week, will I look like them? Will I lose all my muscles, all my hard-earned progress, all my gains? So cardio, under most circumstances, won't affect your overall growth. That's the key. But the thing about it is, you still need to make sure you are resistance training, you are lifting weights, you need to make sure you are eating enough calories, as in you're not going into a calorie deficit, and you need to make sure you are eating enough protein, because when you are doing any type of exercise, if you're not getting enough protein, you literally don't have the building blocks to actually build muscle to begin with. So why would your body build muscle if it doesn't even have protein to actually repair the cells to just do our daily functions like breathe and keep our blood functioning at a highest capacity? So that's a crucial point. So for most individuals, if you kind of check all those boxes, you're going to be okay. When can cardio actually affect growth? I did mention under most circumstances you're fine. So there are a couple circumstances where you might actually have growth affected. Large amounts of cardio where you are putting yourself in a severe calorie deficit is going to 100% affect your overall muscle growth. This is not only going to affect muscle growth, basically you're in a calorie deficit, so you can't get enough energy to build muscle, but also it's going to affect your sleep, which can affect recovery. Your hydration is probably going to be a little iffy, which can also affect muscle growth. All these different things culminating together, if you think about it, can directly kind of blunt muscle growth, because your body doesn't even have enough energy to do those daily processes like live and breathe, and then of course do all those long cardio bouts. So it doesn't have or want to spend energy to actually make that muscle, because muscle is very metabolically active. It takes a lot of energy to do that. And the way we were designed, I shouldn't say designed, the way we were evolved is to be the most efficient with our calories as possible. So if we have something like muscle mass on our body that's burning a lot of calories already, and we start doing a bunch of cardio on top of that puts us into a calorie deficit, your body's going to be like, dude, you're burning so many calories. You don't need all this extra muscle, because guess what? You're just burning it all. It's all going somewhere. So just something to consider. Also, highly specific athletes, if you are somebody who's a power lifter or very big into strength sports, it's probably not going to help to do a bunch of extra cardio if you have a good, decent baseline of fitness. Simply because, again, you're going to be taking away from those recovery things. I would never have a power lifter doing a bunch of 1 mile runs. It just doesn't make sense. It's not specific for them. It's also going to affect their recovery for their actual weightlifting, is what is most important for them and what they're trying to achieve in their goals. So calorie won't kill your muscle, and actually for a lot of people it will improve your overall baseline of fitness, which can help you to recover better and faster in between sets, which can help to make your workouts quicker, more efficient, which can also lead you to doing more work in a specific amount of time, which can actually lead to more muscle growth. So having just a little bit of baseline of fitness can help as well. Do your cardio, just don't overdo it, and try to stay above calories. If you are in a calorie deficit, this is also just something to realize too, that you probably will lose a little bit of muscle. That's why it's so important though to make sure you are resistance training when you are in that calorie deficit. So another aspect that I wanted to touch on is splitting your workouts between the day. So some people might be really, really busy and they think, I can't actually stick to doing a long workout all at one time. So is it okay to split my workout through the day? For most people, this is absolutely no problem. When I was in college, I would actually do my cardio in the morning some days and then my weights in the afternoon. I would sometimes split my weights, one session in the morning, one in the afternoon. The most important thing in your workouts and how I want you to look at this is just getting the work done in general. Because that's where that volume is built. That's where that overall workload and capacity and stress is built. And that stress and workload over time, of course, is what's going to translate into improved fitness, improved muscle growth, improved cardiovascular capabilities. Those things over the long term are what is really going to happen if you're just consistent. So think more consistency versus having it all done at the same time. It could be an issue at some point if you start skipping workouts, of course, that you expect to hit. Say, I'm going to do cardio in the morning and then some weights in the afternoon. Well, if you do that and then start skipping out on your weight sessions because you're so tired later in the day and you just don't feel like it, of course, that's going to affect your thing because you're just not even getting in that training stimulus to begin with. So that's something to consider for yourself. If you are somebody who knows yourself well and that might actually happen, just something I would recommend to kind of think about. Also, too, it can be a problem if your sleep is affected. So if you need to actually do a weight training session later in the day, but that affects your sleep and then that affects your recovery, your overall recovery, I should say, that's going to affect not only the next workout, it's going to affect maybe the next week's worth of workouts. So it's kind of those things where you have to border on, is it really worth it to get a super hard workout right before bed if it's going to affect my training, versus maybe I'm just going to do a slightly smaller weight workout with a slightly smaller cardio workout in the morning all at the same time, because then I'll sleep better at night. And sleep, after you give it a little bit of stimulus from those workouts, sleep is where you recover. Sleep is where you get better. Sleep is where you build fitness. The stimulus is one thing, but the recovery is a whole nother aspect. Also, too, if you can't fuel properly, so if those workouts that are split up, but you can't actually, eat some food for your next workout and you feel like crap, you have low energy, that's probably going to lead to some issues too. And then also there's something to be said about just trying to build overall work capacity in one specific stint of exercise. So if you are trying to literally get the most out of your fitness, you might want to say to yourself, I want to see if I can fit this whole 1 hour workout into 30 minutes and really hit it to the grindstone and really push myself. That's going to be a way to progress and stress yourself. And for some athletes, doing that all in one session is a good way to actually build overall fitness and stamina. Some tips that I would give for you is try for the most part to do all your cardio at once, so then you kind of get that stimulus out of the way, and then all your sets for lifting at once, so you can get that out of the way, versus let's say you want to do 30 minutes of cardio and a 30-minute weight training session, so but you only have 30 minutes. I wouldn't do 15 minutes of cardio and 15 minutes of weight. I would just do 30 minutes of cardio at one time, get all that cardio stimulus, and then do 30 minutes of weight later. So then you get all that weight stimulus all at one time. Basically, this is just going to give you the most overall workload in that time, which can give you the best results, the best stimulus at the time. And then stretch after everything. So if you're going to be doing static stretching, I don't say you quote unquote need to, but if you're feeling like doing some static stretching, do that after literally everything. And if this did give you some new perspectives on fitness, please give the video a like. It greatly helps spread the word of inclusive fitness to individuals of all abilities. Thanks so much for joining me. We will see you in the next video. Apply some of these tips to your life. Hopefully it helped you out. Again, subscribe to the channel. We help individuals of all abilities inside the gym and become healthier in life. If you are somebody who is too busy on time and basically you just don't have any extra time in the day or doesn't feel like it to work out, I made another podcast that I'm going to link right now talking all about time management tips to give you the best overall workout in 2023 and beyond if you are on a lack of time. Thanks for watching me, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.